There we go. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Danny Simpson. I'm the CEO of Mid Communications. We're the largest O2 franchise inside of the Northwest. And I've got a great panel with me today. So I'm a big believer of and a passionate retailer at heart. We've got a fantastic panel today that's going to talk to you about Love Island, because that's the big thing right now. And of course, we've got the football on Saturday. So we're going to have a really great debate about all of those things. So no, we're going to talk to you a little bit about retail and the high street. And of course, how the pandemic over the last 12 months has really changed things, and what's the future of the high street look like. So fantastic speakers today. So let me introduce you very quickly to our team. So we've got the lovely Diane with us digitally. Diane, please introduce yourself for us.
Hi everyone, lovely to be here, although I'm sorry I couldn't get to the Lowry Hotel today. I'm Diane Worrell, Marketing and Insights Director at Springboard, and we look at performance of bricks and mortar retail, and have been doing so since 2002.
Fantastic. So you're going to be a big part of our conversation today, Diane. Thank you. And of course, Nick, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Nick Bianchi. I'm part of the family of Origi Bianchi in Macclesfield. We're a fifth generation family business, stretching this year 167 years. So yeah, still in the family.
Still in the family. Thank you very much, Nick. And Tim?
Hi, I am Timothy Jung. I am from Manchester Met University. So I'm director of a creative AR and VR hub. So we are looking at how virtual reality and augmented reality can be used for the wider industry. And we also do the research how that kind of a technological innovation can be applied in the practice, such like a retail sector.
Thank you, Tim, and of course another great friend of us, so Adam.
Hi everyone, I'm Adam. I'm the Chief Information Officer for the M Brown Group. We're a digital fashion retailer headquartered in the Northern Quarter. You probably might not have heard of M Brown Group, but we've got brands such as Giacomo, Simply Be, JD Williams.
Super, thank you. So obviously the high street has absolutely had a challenge over the last 12 months, but what's really important is I wanted to get Nick and Adam here because Nick, 167 years.
Yep.
Adam, how long have you been trading?
160, roughly.
160,
not me personally, of course.
And they don't look that old, do they? I mean, come on, you're talking about people wanting to live forever. These guys have got the answer. So, lots of great heritage here today to give us a bit of confidence that says, you know what, the pandemic was big for most of us, but actually these guys have traded through a lot more. So Nick, let me come to you first, if I may, please, buddy. Yeah. So, from a furniture retailer, humble beginnings back in Macclesfield, talk to us a little bit about the pandemic, how it's affected you over the last 12 months, and where you see it moving forward. Is it revolution or evolution for you?
I think what happened on March the 20th or 23rd, 2020, obviously had a huge effect. I mean, overnight we had to shut our doors, which was, we worked out as for the second time in our 167-year history, the last being in 1918 with the Spanish flu. Wow. No, I mean, going back to it, I mean, over the 167 years, we've had to demonstrate resilience. We've survived 2 world wars. We've, I think, 48 recessions, you name it, on each time. So this one was, we didn't panic. We just obviously had to shut the shop. We couldn't deliver. That was a real problem. We could do like small deliveries to your door, but that was it. But I guess the thing was just to be calm. And really just call on those experiences in the past, I think what's helped us over the last 160 years is that we've been quite careful, not cautious, but careful. And where we've needed to contract, we've contracted. So before World War I, without boring anyone unless they want a history lesson, we had 4 stores and a hotel. First World War come, staff sent to the front line, family members front line, all our horses, which were our delivery service, confiscated. So we had to sell the hotel and get rid of the other stores, and we just kept Macclesfield. Second World War, same thing. Let's face it, people weren't buying furniture during World War II. Instead, we were producing parachutes in this stop, which you've been to, Danny. So you come through it, and I think that that's helped us in a way that we've never kind of over-edged ourselves. And having like 20 or 30 stores, we just try to make what we've got in Macclesfield, a good experience. I always say an interesting store is a busy store, and I think that's one of the key takeaways we do, is trying to make what we've got interesting, and then adding things like the restaurants and flowers and kitchen concessions as well.
So massively over the years, you would say experiential as a unit has played a big part in your success, yeah?
Oh, huge, yeah, absolutely. It's got to be a destination. I think 150 car parking spaces helps as well. I think car parking is right up there. As Family Fortunes is like number one, free parking. But yeah, the cafe bar, to make it, on average, our average customer visit is around 3.5 hours. So having a place where you can just, when we launched it in '88, very few places, probably as it was known, Kendall's, as it was known then, probably had one, Harrods would have done, but very few furniture stores had a coffee shop back in 1988. But we kind of thought that pioneered that. And it does work. But experiential, yeah.
Thank you, buddy. And we'll come back to that in just a second. But Adam, what about yourself? So the last 12 months, how's it been? And have you used history to navigate through the pandemic? And what are you seeing now?
Well, I think we're fortunate in some way that we had a few shops and stores. We had probably about a dozen shops and stores about 3.5 years ago, and we came out of them. So we said, we're going to be a digital retailer. This is what we're going to do. So I think in some respects, we're in a more fortunate position. But when everyone's stuck at home, nobody wants to buy fashion, right? And we're a fashion retailer. Or at the very best, people want to buy something for the top half because that's what you see on video. So we had to react. We had to react really quickly, right? And we had to change. We had to change what we bought into. And so everyone wanted athleisure and casual wear, and people wanted to start getting into sports and fitness and things. And supply chains traditionally are quite long, but we've been working over the years to reduce it. So we're in quite a fortunate position. But yeah, we're 160 years old. We've always been resilient because we've been through the same stuff that Origi Bianchi has, but we've also been entrepreneurial. So, when the first postal service came into the country, we were there, we were on it, we were taking advantage of it and became a catalogue retailer at the time. Were you around at the time?
I don't, mate, but I remember all of the stuff that you produced from a catalogue perspective.
Yeah. But we also launched a home business to try and tap into some of that market. That was like a big learning for us. We sell a bit of home stuff on the side, but this was like a new brand for us. And you wouldn't believe how many people bought hot tubs in the last 18 months. I mean, I don't know what people are doing with their lives, but they're definitely spending it in hot tubs. But I think the other thing, look, as horrendous as this whole thing has been for everyone, I think we've heard today, and we're no different, we saw an advantage in it as well. We overnight transformed the business, the culture, and how we thought about things. And there was this joke going around about who led the digital transformation for the business. Was it the CEO, was it the CIO, or was it COVID-19? I'd love to sit here and take credit for it, but the pandemic forced us into it. And so as a business, I think we've suddenly become more resilient as we start to think about the future as well.
Yeah, I think just to keep you guys a second, then we're going to bring Timmy to talk about that technology. So moving forward, Nick, what changes have you made to Origi's to make sure that you're going to come out the other side fully of the pandemic and using that?
Well, online has become key because we relied it. One minute we had 140 staff, and the next minute we had 132 on furlough, and it was just eight of us online, out of which they were all in digital. That's been our focus completely. To get that all up to speed, to try and replicate as best as we can the experience that one has in store. It's a balancing act, isn't it? Because it needs to be commercial website, but it needs to try and reflect what we've got in the store as well.
Any specific tech that's using to drive the change, Nick?
Yeah, we've adopted some good customer technology, for CRM, Gorgeous. There's so many acronyms. I'm 48, so the average age in our team is 23, so I'm like a dinosaur. But Yotpo, things like that. We're just learning as we go, but we've really taken it very seriously.
Because you want to transfer the experience from in-store online?
Yeah.
So from Adam's perspective then, Adam, what technology are you using now? Because you've come from stores, you've done the bricks and mortar, which me and Nick are still on there. So you've done that and you've made that transformation and you've made that leap. What technology have you started to implement over your business over the last 12 months to come through the other side?
Yeah, well, as a fashion business, your range is massive and it changes all the time. So because you're digital, I think one of the big things that we've invested in is like findability. How can we help you as a customer find the right product amongst like hundreds and thousands on the website? And you know, we've been talking about personalization in e-commerce for about 2 decades. It's like the holy grail. We're starting to get to a point where the tech's enabling it to actually happen, and whether you see it or you don't, it is starting to happen. So that's one aspect. I think the other is, and not many people know this, but we are a fit specialist. And about 2 years ago, we invested in lots of tech to like measure body shapes and sizes. So we literally scanned people. We got volunteers. We told them that we were doing it. But we literally scanned lots of bodies to see how the size and shape changed over time. And we moved our production to be more digital led. So, you know, the old cutting blocks, we started to replace with like digital tools to do that stuff. We're just terrible about shouting about this stuff. But if you can order something and you can order it once and you can get confidence that it's going to fit, and it turns up and it does fit and it feels brilliant, you'll come back.
Absolutely.
And so we're using some tech, but we're just terrible at advertising it. And, you know, are consumers interested? I don't know. They just want great products, right?
Well, I think getting it right first time online has been a tricky one. I think a lot of retailers have always spoke about the high returns rate and the cost of that, of doing that. So I think that tech's really enabled you to get it more closer towards getting it right first time for the consumer, which is really important. So I'll come back to you guys in a second, because I think that's great to know that, you know, they do the right thing and invest in the right technology at the right time, being sensible. I think it's sometimes understanding, adopting the right technology. I think there's sometimes innovation out there and we all race to do it, and all of a sudden you've got a lot of tech in your business and you don't know how to use it and what's right for the customer. I think it's adapt the technology, is what I'm hearing, that's right for your business and right for your customers at the right time.
Danny, can I just you talk about hot tubs being the best seller. Our best selling accessory was a drinks trolley. So I don't know. I think we've all become into a nation of.
We're getting a great Friday afternoon. We've got a drinks trolley in a hot tub. If anybody wants to join later on.
We could not sell.
During
Honestly, sorry, I'm digressing from the agenda.
No, it's fine, don't worry, mate.
Drinks trolleys, yeah.
Drinks trolleys and hot tubs.
And premium based.
Anyway, for the weekend. And, Tim, so from your perspective, you look, technology, research from the university, and the second we're going to bring Diane in about how has the pandemic affected the high street. So from my perspective, what technology are you using or are you seeing that you think retailers are going to start to adapt over the next 12 months that we can start to expect to come into our lives as consumers?
Right, okay. So I think it's great to hear from the, I've never met personally the business owners have more than 160 years. In total 300 years, it's a long time, isn't it? So, and also it's great to hear that these long time businesses investing technology to, you know, survive in the very difficult time. So when you look at some overall global retailers, there are two different types of retailers. One, retailers who never thought about the digital transformation, mean don't have a website, we are okay for the kind of high street shopping, that's fine, we are fine. Another retailers, they are investing some kind of technology and e-commerce and mobile commerce. We have seen that very, very different kind of situation now. Those are mostly struggling and sometimes closed down. And those retailers use technology and successful in digital transformation, they are actually, their sales are 3 times, 4 times more before the pandemic. So we have seen that, okay? And when it comes to the technology, because I am more, specialized in AR and VR, so virtual, it's completely virtual space. Augmented reality is technology where you can access the digital information in the real environment, real kind of a retail setting, okay? And AR, VR has been, it's like considered, the adoption of this kind of technology has been very, very slow in the retail sector. And it's just considered as kind of gimmick, or maybe it's nice to have one, okay? Rather than must or compulsory. But I think that kind of attitude has been changed quite a lot because of pandemic. Literally, customers cannot actually go out. I mean, I think we are much better situation now, so people can go and shopping and have a dinner. It's fine, much better now. But we experienced them for the last 12 months. You know, it was really no way, customers can go to the shopping area. It was impossible. So I think according to Nielsen Media Research, March, about 3 months ago, almost half of global customers, like 51%, they are now quite open to try, AR and VR when they assess the product and services, which they didn't have this kind of attitude before, right? And also, the beauty of this technology is something in-store experience they can bring it in home environment.
Yeah.
So in that way, those companies who really kind of thought about the use of this technology wisely, they can have a really successful in terms of customer engagement and also kind of a shopping experience. So that has been trialed in a number of different countries and retailers. So I think it's a way forward. Is kind of augmented reality is another alternative way to create kind of a much provide a better kind of a retail experience or shopping experience or entertainment experience.
And do you think that some of that, Tim, is because the technology is more affordable, and definitely from a consumer perspective, if you look at the latest Oculus as an example,
yeah.
you're getting the 64 gig for 299 quid and the 256 for 400. So the technology from a consumer's perspective is more accessible.
Yes.
And probably it's a little bit more affordable for the companies.
That's right. So I think the difference between augmented reality, virtual reality, you need a headset.
Yeah.
Means somehow retailer they should think about a little bit investment because it costs and they have to think about how to implement. And also pandemic hardware always little kind of a social distancing or any kind of a hygienic issues. And even after the pandemic, why the augmented is more promising because
Mobile device.
accessibility. So if anyone has a mobile phone, they can use this augmented reality. So in the post-pandemic, people still concerning about trying product in store. I mean, they are quite open, but still they're cautious about because you never know what's happened, and therefore, I think virtual reality is less used. I think it's practical in terms of accessibility, in terms of implementation. Augmented reality is much more promising. However, virtual reality can provide a very different kind of immersive and different experience. Escape. I want to escape some different places, and this kind of things happening in them. And also, I think we mentioned a little bit about before we come to the young generation. I'm not sure whether you heard about Roblox or Geppetto or Fortnite. They spend in 100 billion young generation. They are spending 6 hours, 8 hours every day, and the pandemic actually helped them to kind of have freedom to enjoy more time. So it means we have a real world and virtual world, but kind of a customer experience, the kind of virtual experience. So, I mean, it's a long way to go, but I think, in the future, it's going to happen.
I want to bring Diane in, who's here digitally. So thank you, Diane. So Springboard, national statistician for footfall for the UK. Interesting 12 months, Diane, to say the least?
Oh, yes. I mean, I'm a bit of a data geek, as you would imagine. I love looking at data and trends. I mean, that's what we do as a business. And we have never seen anything like this. So let me give you a bit of context. So in the decade prior to where we are now, we've seen footfall decline at about 1.5% a year every year across all destination types. So that's our high streets, our shopping centres and our retail parks. And in high streets specifically, it's dropped by 2% a year. And that's because we've changed our shopping habits, because we've become more digitised. So we're transferring some of our visits to online browsing, and then some of our spend, obviously, to online spend. So we were seeing that slowly drip out of visits to our bricks and mortar destinations anyway. Then we had COVID hit in March last year, and footfall dropped from 1 week to the next by over 80% from the year previous. So it literally plummeted. So in March 2020, we're 80% below 2019. I mean, huge drop. And it slowly crept up over lockdown 1. And by the time we opened and lockdown 1 eased, we were sort of around 60% down. And in the subsequent 2 lockdowns, footfall has regained some strength. And so by the time we got to lockdown 3, back in January of this year, we started at around 60% below, and we're now with 2020. And then that crept up during lockdown 3. We're now sitting, and this is a slightly different comparison because clearly we can't compare ourselves to 2020 anymore because we've overlapped the anniversary of opening. So we're now comparing things against 2019 again. We're now sitting at 30% below 2019. So we have made some ground up, but we've still got a long way to go.
Wow.
And part of that is obviously the ongoing restrictions are limiting the number of customers that stores can take, and also hospitality, which of course is an integral part of our high streets.
And Diane, thank you for that. Do you think when the restrictions could lift on the 19th of July, what do you, I mean, no one's got a crystal ball here, but what would you predict could happen in terms of that? Do you think it'll recover fully, or do you think we're going to be looking at a partial recovery? What's your thoughts?
I mean, I think we're going to see a real boost initially, which is what we saw when lockdown eased on lockdown 3. We know in 1 week we saw footfall go up by nearly 90% from the week before. I mean, huge. Everyone was desperate to get out and have some form of normality. And we will see an increase. I don't think we'll necessarily see as big an increase from the week before to the week of opening this time, because we've already been let out, so to speak. But we will see an increase. And then we'll see a steady strengthening as the year progresses, on the basis that we don't either go back into lockdown or they reintroduce restrictions. And so I'm anticipating by the end of the year, we'll probably be around 10 to 15% below where we were in 2019. So substantially below where we were when we started. But of course, some of that is due to natural nervousness amongst consumers. Change in our habits in our everyday lives, our working habits make a massive difference. We won't be necessarily working in the office as much. We'll be working maybe at this hybrid model everyone's talking about, and that impacts our city centres very heavily, which of course account for a lot of our footfall across the UK. You know, they're the busiest places in the UK. So if those are the worst hit, then footfall generally would be greater hit. And of course, there'll be inevitably a greater transference and continuing transference of some spend online. You know, we managed to convert a lot of non-online spenders to be online spenders over that lockdown, which is great for M Brown and other businesses that have a strong online platform. But, you know, a lot of these guys are going to say, well, actually, I prefer it, or I like, you know, I don't need to do so much my functional shopping in store anymore. I can do a lot of my functional shopping online, or I do much more of my browsing online, so I make fewer trips. All these things are going to affect trips and therefore spend in store.
Yeah, I think that when we come out of lockdown 3 and then we come out of the second stages and we were allowed to actually move around the country and go to holiday homes and staycations, you know, that we saw the high street dip. And I know, speaking to e-commerce platforms, they saw a 12% decline in online sales. So real interesting how each stage of lockdown will have an adverse or positive impact in certain sectors. So Dan, what do you think high street retailers need to do with the bricks and mortars to get the customers from the clicks back to the bricks to get us back on the high street? I know we've got confidence with vaccinations, and I know that we're going to have restrictions, but what do you think retailers need to do to get these people back to the high street?
You know, I think it goes back to the essence of retail. It's old-fashioned retail. You know, I mean, we want to go to store. You know, actually, it's interesting because I think you can use as a baseline model food shopping. And in lockdown 1, everyone was saying, oh, everyone's ordering all their food online. In fact, they weren't actually. Less than 12% of food shopping was online, even in lockdown 1. Most people were still going into store. It hasn't really increased and it hasn't really dropped. So food shopping is very steady at around 10, 11% of total spend. People still wanted even to go into store for food. So we're desperate to go back into store, but to make that worthwhile for people who aren't necessarily already in bricks and mortar destinations, those retailers need to make their proposition as attractive as possible. Now, it doesn't need to be necessarily everything associated with the environment, although that's massively important, but it's about staffing and service. All those key elements of old-fashioned retailing that I think perhaps we lost a little of in the last 10, certainly last decade, if not the last 20 years, they need to be brought back into play, because that's what makes the difference between shopping online and shopping in store. It's the interaction, the personal service, the engagement. Everything you can get in store, you cannot get online, because that's much more of a functional purchase.
Definitely. And I know we had a conversation a week ago, which was really interesting, because we talked about the transaction really being important there. We've got so used to having a transaction that needs to be instant and really quick. And actually, in a store, it needs to be experiential because we can do the fast, convenient thing on our mobiles.
Yeah.
So we need to go into store to get something different. So we need to look, retailers start looking at experiential. So thank you, Diane. And look, I think what a great way to wrap it up, because from a story perspective, you've got two historical giants here sat on the stage with 327 years of retail trading experience. It's telling us that, you know, experiential from Origi Bianchi's is really, really key. And what we're hearing from Diane is we need to do more of this. So actually more retailers can learn from what Nick's doing in the bricks space. And I think what Adam's doing in the web space is really interesting. AR coming in to provide that experiential piece to drive that transaction online to become interactive. So that's really interesting. And getting to your product quicker is really interesting. So how a digital retailer is really using experiential on the high street. Some interesting tech coming along. And of course, we're expecting some positive results for the high street. So overall, I think, you know, through the pandemic, I think we can safely say we're on a steady journey forward, and hopefully we'll continue. But each one of us in this room, and everybody watching online today, you are a consumer. Please support your high street. Where possible, have a blended approach. You know, if you think it's right and you want an instant and it's a simple transaction, you've got the online platforms. But you know what? If you want that experiential piece, pick your retailers, put them under pressure. Force them to give you that experience. That's what we talk to our team about. And if you don't get it, talk to them on social media and use their platforms to talk about experiences. But thank you for your time today, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy Love Island and enjoy the football. And hopefully we'll have a great weekend in terms of our success as a nation. But thank you to the panel. You've been brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
Okay, thank you.
Because we started slightly early, we have actually got a second or two, and I believe from Ollie that there was a question on table 3 that you wanted to ask to the panel. Am I right? Or are you all going silent on me?
I said if you were going to start a retail business from scratch today, what would you do and how would you do it? What would you sell and how would you sell?
Adam, we'll come with you first.
Actually, and I'd start with that principle of how do you create an experience that you can deliver to a customer on their terms, because customers vote with their feet, right? And so if they want to buy online and return in store, or they want to buy in store and return online, or any of that stuff, I think it's all about how you do it. And clearly, it's all about product. If you've got a terrible product, just don't even bother starting.
Interesting. Thank you, Adam. Nick?
Well, it's interesting because I've got another life. I actually launched with some friends a gin business at the end of 2019, which is a shame because obviously, you know, we're getting some good meetings with retailers, and then everything locked down, didn't it? No, I think like you quite rightly said, you know, it's all about the product as well, but it's the service, and it goes back to my piece when I was talking about with my Origi Bianchi hat on. It's as long as you can give that service and personal service, and but I think yeah, it's the product, the design, the look. In our case with the gin, would you be proud to go to a dinner party with our bottle of Declaration gin, for example? Do you know what I mean? So it was all those things, but
definitely. I think experience is key.
Yes.
I think from my perspective, I get to use a word now that I've been using for years and people have thought it's been a bit crazy. People talk about experiential. My key word, you can have it all for free, it's called retailtainment. It's about entertainment in the retail space. How do you bring your shop alive that provides an experience of entertainment to your customers? We sell mobile devices, so do all the other networks.
Yeah.
How do we bring our mobile space alive that gives you an experience that none of our competition can replicate? The answer, people and what we do with our products. And of course, that's the same online and of course in the retail space.